And we're back. This is Alden Antonucci with Extreme Power Hour. I've got a great guest with me today, a longtime friend. His name is Josh Treasure. Coolest name I've ever heard. And so Josh had this issue back in the day in his past, addiction recovery. His father ended up getting cancer, which brought him back to a full 180-degree loop of not only being more solid with your family, but having this drive, this desire to help other people that are in this recovery and the addiction area. You want to kind of help them before they get there. But there were some good points that you brought up that I want to bring in this episode. Is there's this loop, almost like a rat race, and I'm just going to leave it at that, of this addiction and recovery rat race. Go from there.
Yeah, I would just say that, I mean, the reality is it's about money at this point. You know, we've got under 10% success rates of people going to treatment that cost between $30,000 to $50,000. And so as soon as people walk into these doors, they don't have the support system that they need. Majority of treatment facilities have been brought out by private equity firms. What do private equity firms want to see? Return on their capital. And so essentially, humans are being treated as commodities at this point. I mean, they literally body broker people. They will send out marketers for specific treatment facilities into drug-stricken areas and find people to go to these treatment facilities and then pay them a kickback of what they get of the insurance payment. And this is documented. This is well documented.
My mind's doing this right now.
Yeah.
Because I think the general public has no idea what you're even talking about.
Probably, yeah.
So this is kind of looking behind the curtain.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're saying is there's the drug trade, let's call it a poorer areas that are, let's call, being picked on.
Mm-hmm.
The drugs go into these areas. People are becoming addicted, going through their recovery. And then there's people that are actually going into these areas being sponsored by who? You're saying the government's financing?
The treatment facilities have third-party marketers that they pay to recruit people. Now, these people go find people that are addicted to drugs and offer them money to go to treatment. And so they get paid $30,000, and then they pay that client $2,000 for going to treatment. So why wouldn't they do that? They can't get drugs because they're poor and they're addicted to drugs. So this is a way out for them they go through the cycle.
So is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Oh, it's terrible.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like you're saying they're going to go in there and save the day, but in reality, they're just doing it over money.
Yeah, yeah. And there are maybe some people with good intention. There are some people going to treatment to try to get help. But it's all done incorrectly.
They're like a pawn in the game now.
Yeah. I mean, I tried to develop a mental health and substance use disorder app that had a concrete scientific evidence behind it of why it would work better. And 3 days before we were going for funding, I magically got hacked. My laptop, my phone, my iCloud, everything was taken. And it was like, that's when my eyes were opened. Just like, there's a lot of money in this industry that don't want to see people get better.
Wow. So it sounds almost like it's connected to the privately owned prisons.
It's probably all interconnected.
They're all interconnected at that point.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is, I don't know if there's proof behind it, but it's very likely that private equity firms take money from cartels. You know, I mean, it is documented that El Chapo's sons had numerous business interests within America.
Wow. So it's all connected. So now a person that is only getting $2,000, the person that found them is getting $30,000. This person now is maybe, like you said, is going there to now they do want to be, they're addicted, they're in this recovery. What's that recovery retention look like?
Of people that actually stay sober after graduating treatment, under 10%.
Under 10%. And how long does that treatment typically last?
30 to 90 days.
30 to 90 days. And it might have taken them about 10 years to finally get there.
Exactly.
So you got 10 years of time that they have to get all this treatment done within 30 to 90 days.
Yep.
And 10%, will last how long? Is it for the rest of their lives? Is it 2 months, 2 weeks?
Relapse rates are enormously high.
Hmm.
It's probably 2% that actually stay sober after that initial stay.
Right.
I'm a phenomenon. I mean, I was an IV opiate user. And for me to go to treatment for 30 days and get out and stay sober for 3 years, I worked with a psychiatrist on the app who I don't think he believed me initially.
Right.
But, I finally had learned that about the cycle. I knew what I didn't want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And for you, what was that turning point? I know your dad and your family was kind of what was keeping you grounded, but was there something in your brain where you woke up the next day and it just clicked, or was it a gradual fade?
I wanted to quit while I was using, but it took me crushing my ex. We were due to get married, and granted, it's probably best we didn't work out because she's in a better spot now and we weren't compatible. But just to hurt someone that you love like that, because I don't like hurting people. And just like feeling her pain was something, like I said, I never wanted to experience that again.
Did she know the whole time?
She knew, but I just don't think that she, I was successful in a good career, serving on community boards, making impactful decisions. Nobody really knew. And if they did, addicts are amazing at wearing masks.
Wow. That just gave me shivers.
Yeah.
In today's world, where you were, 10 years ago? Was this kind of where you were 10 years ago? Or how many years ago was it?
I'm 3 years sober.
3 years sober.
Yeah.
And so you were using for about 10, 12 years or so?
Yeah, off and on. When I moved to Big Sky, I had some sobriety. And then it really didn't get bad until 2020, COVID.
2020.
Yeah, because I stopped mountain biking, stopped going to the gym.
Right.
And so I, just replaced that free time with oxys and Adderall and, anything else I could get.
Easier stuff to get, right?
Yep.
You can get that on every corner.
Yep.
You can get it with a credit card.
Yep.
Everyone's doing it kind of scenario.
Yep.
And if my thumb hurts, I can get some oxy or whatever else.
Yep.
So that leads me to a next point. With normal addiction and recovery, what I don't know if you know this percentage or not. We call them illegal drugs, and then obviously the legal drugs, the pharmaceutical drugs.
Yeah.
The ones that are addicted, are they addicted more to illegal drugs or more pharmaceutical drugs?
So that's a tough question because, like, I have a family member right now he's prescribed 210 oxycodone, 30 milligrams per month. And he doesn't believe that he's addicted, even though his life is falling apart.
Wow.
And that's where it becomes difficult because you're getting it from a doctor. Versus the illegal drug scenario is, you know it. You're using something that you shouldn't, and you're consuming something that you shouldn't.
Right.
So the statistics behind that are difficult.
Wow. Yeah. So do you feel like the illegal drugs are just fading more into getting into the hands of legal consumers and getting into those younger age groups? Or do you think nothing's changed? Do you think things are getting better or worse? Where's that?
Way worse.
Way worse.
Yeah. I mean, fentanyl, they just found another drug that's stronger than fentanyl that's hitting the streets. Yeah. I mean, if I was still using like I was when I was 19 and I was in Utah with the fentanyl availability, I would be dead.
Tell me about fentanyl. I'm kind of ignorant. I know what fentanyl is. I know it's not a good thing. It's another one of those drugs that unfortunately is too easy to get. Some say it comes from cartels that got it from China, and China, this whole vicious circle. Now tell me more about this fentanyl crisis. What does that mean, and how's your perspective?
It's easy to transport.
Okay, so what is it?
It's a powder. It's a synthetic powder that is 10 times, if not 100 times more powerful than morphine. And so they mix it with other drugs. And
is fentanyl legal?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so we start there.
Yep.
Fentanyl's legal.
Yep.
Can fentanyl go across the border?
I mean, I've used a few fentanyl patches when I was using, and it's amazing how strong it is compared to oxys. Yeah.
And it's utilized on the pharmaceutical side for
pain
relief, just like oxycodone.
Yep.
Just a stronger form.
Yep.
Correct?
Yep.
And let's say if somebody's been addicted to oxy for a while, is the natural fade into fentanyl because fentanyl is stronger than oxy, so oxy's not working?
When you're addicted, it doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
You just, once withdrawals are so intense with opiates that as soon as they come on, you're just finding something to relieve that.
Got it.
I mean, I used to take, because technically Imodium is an opiate.
Got it.
But it only concentrates in your stomach. But I would take bottles of that sometimes to relieve opiate withdrawal symptoms.
Is this withdrawal symptom, is it through the body? Is it mentally? Or is it a combination of both?
Both.
Okay, so walk me through that.
Shivers, intense diarrhea, vomiting. So there's so many opiate receptors throughout your body that it just, once those are depleted, it feels like your skin is crawling. Restless legs, sweating. It's terrible. But that's why we go to such extreme measures as addicts when those hit. That's why people go rob pharmacies. That's why people go rob, people at gunpoint.
It almost sounds like your body's on fire and you're looking for the water again.
Yes.
Does that sound about right?
Yep.
And mentally, do you know it's mentally happening at the same time? Or is it actual, like you're sitting here like scratching yourself? Because when you think of a lot of drug addicts, you see them on the ground, stuff like that, they're scratching, they're going like stuff like that. Is that something that's physically happening, or is that something mentally saying, I've got rashes?
That's more when they're high.
Right.
Because it makes your skin, so you like to itch it and stuff. It feels good.
Oh.
Yeah. But more the mental aspect when you're going through that detox, it's drugs. You start to feel the sensation, and that is the only thing your mind is focused on.
And so the world right now, you're seeing it's actually getting worse.
Way worse. And
the drugs are easier to get because now they're legal. Fentanyl can go across the border, stuff like that, really easy. It takes, what do they say, like less than a pencil head of fentanyl could potentially kill you.
Yep.
I've heard border patrols that were opening a bag and that dust went into his face.
Yep.
And they, I think he went into cardiac arrest. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
And so if somebody's never used fentanyl and they had that powder go in their face, they just go into shock.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, it's that strong. Yeah. Then you have methamphetamine and stimulants that they have no way to treat. It's pretty much, just detox, but there's no drug remedies or proven psychological. Actually, they have found one, and it's interesting. It's forgot the exact terminology, but they reward. It's a reward system. So that's basically how methamphetamine works: is you feel good every time you get it. It's that extreme serotonin dopamine release. So they'll give you like $10 for not using that day, and it's a reward-based system that has actually proven to be the most effective.
Wow.
With stimulants. It's interesting. Yeah, there's some apps out there that are doing things like that.
So it's almost like ADD. So here, look over here.
Exactly.
Don't take this. Yeah. Here's your treat over here. So it's like a carrot system.
Yeah. But for opiates, they're just going to get $10 and then go buy.
Oh. So vicious cycle, isn't it?
Yeah.
So now we're bringing in pharmaceuticals. We're bringing in this vicious cycle that's privately owned. Is that one of the same?
Oh, it's
because they make drugs to help people get off recovery.
It's all
Is it a scam?
It's all a cycle. Yeah, it's all. I think the problem in America today with everything is money. It's greed.
Greed.
When did we lose our moral compass and stop being human and actually caring about one another?
Right.
And there are some people and some foundations and some communities still doing that, but it's hard to find.
Right.
It's really hard to find.
Well, I'm sure a lot of in the audience right here and everyone that's watching is probably shaking their hand going, yeah. I don't think there's an easy answer to that. Or is there? Is it just love one another like Jesus taught?
I think so. Yeah.
Is it that easy?
It's not that easy because it's so broken. But if all of us could do that, then things would be pretty different.
And obviously we could probably within, a couple hours, a couple miles of here, we could probably go find people that are probably in the dumps, using drugs, stuff like that. And for some reason, drugs always lead people eventually into let's call it the dumps, right?
Yeah.
Let's say we're walking on the sidewalk and somebody was sitting there tripping out or going through this or asking for help. How would you try to counsel that person into the person that you are today?
I mean, first, it depends if they're ready to change. But
if they ask for help.
If they ask for help, I take them to an AA meeting immediately, or take them to lunch and just hear their story and what's going on with them, and find resources that they need.
And so I think that was the key word that you just said now is resources. A lot of people that are asking for help, they don't know where to find it. They could go on Google and it'll say, well, you can go to the, Miami Beach and go through this AA recovery and that one. Yeah. What about the normal person that has no money? Is there any resources that can provide for that person to get better?
So that's the good thing about the addiction recovery world. With some of the industries, there are still good people doing it that will help or find grants, or if they have Medicaid, like social workers, majority of them are amazing people.
Right.
And that's kind of where you direct them, is to help them find those resources. But Montana is lacking desperately.
So if we found somebody here, like I said, and that asked for help, do we bring them to a location, or do we try to facilitate that, or do we say, here's a business card, call this person, or do we call that person to come get this person? How does that look?
I mean, first thing is, if they say they want help, you ask them if they want to go to a meeting.
Okay.
Because if they're willing to go to a meeting and talk and see that other people are going through the same thing or have been through it and made it, gives them a little glimmer of hope. And then 90% of the time, I can talk with those people in that meeting and see if there's anything they can do to help. Now, for someone that doesn't participate in AA and they ask for help, I would say that's where it gets tough, because people that aren't going through addiction or haven't been through it don't necessarily understand it. But just taking them to lunch and hearing what's going on with them. There's, Rimrock organization in Billings. Terry Todd has the Gratitude and Action Foundation, which she does amazing work. She takes people into her sober homes and helps them get sober. So those would be, I would say, call Terry and her organization. Truthfully.
That's a great shout out for her, I'm sure.
Yeah.
She really would like to know that. So that's great optimism and inspiration. And I think we need to hear more stories like that there is that always glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're trying to do here on the Extreme Podcast, honestly, with this Power Hour.
Yeah.
That can we kind of figure something out? Can we create this resource? Can we create, as you did, an app that can help people? So literally they can be going through it and, they got their phone on them.
Yeah.
And they might just need to hit a help button.
Yeah.
Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you can call 911 and say, hey, help, I'm addicted, I need help. I don't know if they're going to do much for you.
Yeah.
But maybe through that app can literally have a help button.
Yeah. One that I did use was Sober Sidekick. And what's so beneficial with that, I just used it back in October because I was having a tough time. But you can jump into a virtual AA meeting at any time, 24/7.
So you're saying you don't necessarily need to go to an AA meeting. The AA meeting is literally right there in the palm of your hand.
Yep.
And you could be going through those, let's call it, through those demons and going through that past.
Yep.
That you're like, I just need some glimmer of hope.
Yep.
That somebody's not going to judge me.
Yep.
Right. And I think that was probably the key of what you were telling me before. It's like people are ashamed for that judging aspect of it.
Mhm.
But if they're already going through it, that's where they just need the hand up and not a hand out.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And some of these people probably want to work and they want to have normal lives.
Yeah.
But there's that one thing that just keeps pulling them back down.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
yeah, and I would almost say that the more dangerous addict is the one that is successful and wearing that perfect mask and is, has a high net worth. Those are our sociopaths of the world.
Really?
I would say so.
Let's bring in a whole nother dynamic. Let's hold that for
Okay.
the next episode, all right?
Okay.
And so, Josh, I really appreciate you coming down here and allowing and giving a voice to those people that need that hand up, okay?
Okay.
So, Alden Antonucci with Extreme Power Hour. Thanks for watching this podcast and stay tuned for the next. Thanks.